Today, we explore the rise and fall of an industrial giant and its impact on a city. This is Roger and me. Picture a city alive with opportunity, streets full of families, factories humming with work. Then imagine it all vanishing. Jobs gone, dreams shattered, lives changed forever. How did it happen? This is the story of Flint, Michigan, and the man who left it behind. Flint, Michigan, was once the symbol of American manufacturing. General Motors dominated the city. Thousands of jobs supported families. Streets bustled with life. Schools thrived. Communities were strong. In the 1970s, Flint represented hope. People came for work. Life was stable. Generations of families depended on GM. The city's identity was tied to the company. Losing it would mean losing everything. Factories operated around the clock. Workers took pride in their skills. Unions protected jobs and secured benefits. Employees could plan futures, buy homes, and send children to college. Flint's success was a model for industrial America. Then came the closures. GM began shutting down plants. Thousands of workers were laid off. The city's economy, once flourishing, started to crumble. Homes lost value. Local businesses closed. Families faced uncertainty. Public services began to fail. Michael Moore, a native of Flint and filmmaker, wanted to understand why. He asked a simple question. Why did GM abandon the people who built it? His target was Roger Smith, the CEO of General Motors. Moore believed that confronting Smith could reveal answers to a problem affecting thousands. GM executives claimed efficiency, modernization, and global competition as reasons for layoffs. Moore saw a different reality devastated lives and a city losing its soul. The contrast between corporate rhetoric and human suffering became the central theme of his investigation. Moore traveled across Flint, documenting lives affected by layoffs. He visited neighborhoods where streets once alive with children playing now lay empty. Stores shuttered. Families struggled to pay bills. Residents shared stories of despair, frustration, and betrayal. One woman, whose husband had worked at GM for over 20 years, described the moment they learned about layoffs. They had planned to buy a new home, but their future disappeared overnight. Another man spoke of his teenage son, who now faced a city without opportunity, forced to consider leaving everything he knew to find work elsewhere. Moore attempted to contact Roger Smith repeatedly. Phone calls, letters, and meeting requests were ignored or denied. This refusal became symbolic. It highlighted a disconnect between corporate leadership and the people who supported their wealth. Flint's residents faced the consequences of mass unemployment. Schools struggled as funding declined. Social services became overwhelmed. Hospitals faced challenges, and crime rates rose in some neighborhoods. The psychological impact of losing livelihoods extended beyond financial hardship. It affected identity, pride, and community cohesion. Moore captured stories of individuals navigating these challenges. A retired factory worker relied on a limited pension to survive. Single mothers juggled multiple jobs to feed their children. Teenagers felt abandoned and directionless. These stories made the abstract numbers of unemployment tangible. Communities that once thrived on collaboration and shared prosperity now faced isolation and hardship. Neighborhoods deteriorated. Families relocated or lived in fear of eviction. The city's spirit, once resilient, faced immense pressure. Michael Moore's repeated attempts to meet Roger Smith were central to the narrative. Each approach, from letters to public requests, was blocked. Moore documented these efforts to demonstrate the human need for accountability. While executives remained insulated, Moore showed the human stories behind their decisions. Every family, every worker, every child affected became a representation of the broader consequences of corporate indifference. Smith's absence was a statement in itself. It reflected the disconnect between those making financial decisions and those living with their consequences. Moore's pursuit was relentless, showing the frustration of people whose lives were upended without explanation or support. Flint's story was not unique. Across the United States, industrial towns faced similar fates. Factories closed. Jobs disappeared. Communities suffered. Roger and Me exposed a national crisis, presenting the human side of economic data. Moore emphasized that economic policy, corporate strategy, and globalization had direct human consequences. The film challenged viewers to question corporate power, profit motives, and social responsibility. The narrative showed how a single corporation could shape the destiny of a city. It also highlighted the resilience of communities facing seemingly insurmountable challenges. Flint became an example for the consequences of industrial decline in modern America. Moore included intimate interviews with residents to show human impact. A man who spent 25 years at GM explained how losing his job forced him into early retirement with inadequate benefits. A woman described struggling to feed her children after her husband's layoff. Teenagers expressed despair at limited opportunities, considering migration to distant cities for work. These personal stories created a compelling narrative. They illustrated that economic collapse was not just statistics, it was lived experience. Moore's approach gave voice to those often ignored in corporate discussions. Despite adversity, Flint residents showed resilience. Community organizations worked to provide food, support, and education. Local leaders sought new economic opportunities. Small businesses opened where factories once stood. Moore documented these efforts to demonstrate human strength. While GM's decisions had lasting negative effects, the city did not vanish entirely. Its people adapted, struggled, and fought to maintain dignity and stability. Roger and Me became a landmark film, influencing public perception of corporate responsibility. Moore's work highlighted how individual leadership decisions can ripple through communities. The film spurred debate about ethics, accountability, and social obligation in business. Flint's story continued to evolve. Some jobs returned, new industries emerged, but the scars remained. Families adapted, and communities rebuilt, but the memory of loss persisted. Roger and Me remains a document of economic and social transformation, a reminder of what happens when profit outweighs human welfare. Roger and Me is a story of industry, community, loss, and resilience. It reminds viewers that behind every corporate decision are human lives. Flint, Michigan, stands as both a warning and an example. HEH TV brings you stories that matter, uncovering the truth behind the headlines. Thank you for watching.